Hello everyone. Now we are going to start our presentation and my topic is basic of penetration testing with Nmap and Metasploit. And here I divided into four chapters. The four chapters it includes introduction, VAPT, Nmap and Metasploit. Introduction is contains what's the chapter. Hello everyone. Good morning. Now I am going to start our presentation and my topic is basic of penetration testing with Nmap and Metasploit. And I divided it into this into four chapters: introduction, VAPT, Nmap, and Metasploit. Introduction it contains what is a penetration testing and why it is needed, and we are going to discuss about some basic tools. And also VAPT. What is VAPT? And what is the difference between VA and PT? What are the phases of VAPT? And we are going to see about a clear explanation for VAPT. So that's the second topic. And third one contains Nmap. Nmap is a tool, and we are going to see some basic comments and what are the usage and how the Nmap is used in real cases. And also Metasploit. Metasploit is a great tool, and it is a big framework, and it contains a lot of payloads and some of the things, and we are going to how to explain the features, and we are going to see about the basic explanation and some of the commands in the Metasploit. So these are the four chapters which is very important for VAPT. For beginners it is very important how to do a VAPT. Now let's start in the introduction. What is penetration testing? Penetration testing is simple know that for example, now we can take it example. If your neighbor home is open, you seems that it is a vulnerable. The home door is open, so it seems like vulnerable. The door is open. Now you want to inform the house owner or your neighbor to close the door. That is the PT. So this is simple. For example, I am saying that now according to the penetration testing, we see that it is seems like a vulnerable for weakness in the computer system. We want to exploit the vulnerabilities and weakness before the attacker get into that. So our duty is to identify the vulnerability and identify it, and we want to rectify the vulnerability. So then the only we can defend the attacker may not exploit our system. If they attack our system, our important data or our lot of information may be get leaked and our system get down also. So this is what the penetration testing means. So in penetration testing, cybersecurity specialist looks for attempts or to take the advantages of the weakness. It seems like advantages, they take advantage and they exploit the weakness in their computer system. If it is a great corporate office, the hacker may be try to attack and they get steal your data, and they can sell your data in the dark web also. So we want to identify and we want to rectify the attacks. We want to hire a hacker called white hat hackers. So here we can divide it into three hackers: white hat hackers and gray hat hackers and black hat hackers. Their role in this means white hat hacker, we will all the privileges, all our company details to them to rectify the weakness in our system, and we want to correct the rectification the systems vulnerable. But gray hat hackers, they may be work as a white hat hacker and they may be work as a black hat hacker also. Black hat hackers, they are a illegal one. They steals your data without your permission. They enter into your systems. They use the advantages. They take advantages of your weakness and they enter into your computer system or they enter into your server and they steals your data, and they may sell for black market and they get some money. Or some of them they will ask money for them. So these are the vulnerabilities and these are the penetration testers. So they have divided into three types. I said that. So to identify the black hat hackers, we want to stop the black hat hackers. So we hire a white hat hacker. They will do a penetration testing and they will identify our weakness of our system and they rectify the systems. Why we need a penetration testing? It's the most important question, because a big organization needs a penetration tester, because there are a lot of data and lot of personal data and other information about the employees or other customers. All the data should be stored in their server. If any attacker or any hacker came into your system and they exploit all the weakness and they sell the data into the black market, there will be a great question mark for the privacy of the customers and employees, all the data. So the organization is the whole responsible for the data. So for the responsibility, they want to hire a hacker, or they want to hire a white hat hackers. So this is the what penetration testing is more needed for an organization. And for not only the organization, for even a small type of business, they also needed a penetration tester, because they can save their data, they can have much, or they have only a small number of data, but even they want to secure the data, they use the penetration tester, and they hire a penetration tester. They will identify that they are safe and secure. So for safe and security, they are identifying, and to identify the weakness of their vulnerable, they hire a penetration tester. And these are the penetration testing phases. It totally is 7 phases of penetration testing. Information gathering, first one, and enumeration, vulnerability assessment, gaining the access, escalating the privileges, maintaining access, covering tracks. And here there are three tools only. Commonly we have three tools: Nmap and Metasploit for information gathering. Enumeration, they use Nmap and Metasploit tool. For vulnerability assessment, we use OpenVAS, and gaining the access we use Metasploit, escalating the privileges we use Metasploit, maintaining the access Metasploit, covering the tracks we use tools Metasploit. So here we use three tools. These are the basic three tools. Not only these tools are also a main, and for this these tools are for beginners. So beginners can use these tools. By overusing this, they can identify other tools also. They will work on the other tools. This my topic is here Nmap and Metasploit. So what is the difference of it? Why I choose Nmap and Metasploit means, through the Nmap only we can use the Metasploit. And Metasploit is also a great framework. It's a big framework. We can also use another tool in the same period of while using the Metasploit. We can use another tools also, like Nmap also we can use in the Metasploit also. It's a switcher, like it switches like the tools between the two each tools. And here we are going to see the second chapter, VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Here vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, this is commonly known as VAPT. To find the security flaws, we identify through the network issues or cloud storage or whatever may be, even in physical hardware, whatever may be, they will identify the VAPT we will done. So VA means vulnerability assessment. Some of the organization may come and ask for a VAPT tester to done a VA only. So VA means vulnerability assessment. They will access, they will get the identification, analysis, and prioritization, and a recommendation. So these will be followed in the vulnerability assessment. Here they will identify the vulnerability and analyze the vulnerability and prioritize the vulnerability. This is the main thing, prioritization. So prioritize, they will identify the vulnerability and they will analyze this. By analyzing, they will come to a study. There are, if organization have 4 vulnerabilities, they have 4 weaknesses, means they'll identify which one is more important, which one the attacker may get easily and enter into the system, and he will get the data. So they will prioritize the vulnerabilities. They will rank the vulnerabilities according to the defects and how the side effects of the data should be lost, and how, what are the main thing we want to cover it. So they use the prioritize the vulnerability, and then remediation. After finding these vulnerabilities, they will give a remediation that we want to follow this remedy to rectify the vulnerability. So this will be done by vulnerability assessment. The PT will be differ. So penetration testing is differ. We want to exploit the vulnerability. We find the vulnerability by assessment. Now we want to exploit into, we want to get into the vulnerability, and we want to get the advantage privileges, and we want to see that we can enter into it, or it is seems like a uh, we enter into it and we get the advantages, and we can get the data from the organization. So this will be done by only PT. So PT is differ and vulnerability is also differ. So PT will be done in wireless networks and social engineering, physical and firewall, and web application also they will be done. And here it is, we want to do a penetration testing means we need a planning. Before performing the penetration testing, we want to identify that information. We want to gather the information about the system. If a client comes to you, they're asking for a VAPT, we want to ask the details about the organization, and what are the IPs are connected, and how the system is going on, how the network is going on. We want to gather all the informations. And enumeration, we want to get the data from that. And vulnerability assessment, through the enumeration we use the tools, and using these tools we get into the vulnerability, and vulnerability assessment is done. And we want to get the gaining the access through the vulnerability assessment. We get the privileges or advantages to get into the vulnerability. Through this vulnerability we enter into escalating the privileges. We will get all the privileges from if some companies are there, if an organization means there is a difference between the usages. For employees there will be a certain usage, and there will be admin, he has all the privileges. By using this VAPT, the hacker, the white hat hacker, maybe get all the privileges, and he will maintain all the access of the data. He will control the organization. By this escalating the privileges, the hacker controls all the organization's data, and all the controls of the organization comes under into the white hat hackers. And maintaining the access, he will maintain the access, and he will cover the tracks, what are the tracks we followed, and through what are the steps we get into the privileges, that will be followed. Because covering the tracks is very important. Then only we can identify in the which way we get into the vulnerability, and what are the ways to stop, what are the ways to rectify. These will be done in the cover trackings only. So these are the things we want to identify first. Before entering into the VAPT, we want to do these steps: information gathering, enumeration, vulnerability assessment, gaining access, escalating the privileges, maintaining access, covering tracks. These are very important before starting the vulnerability assessment. And here we are going to see about the details of the information gathering. It is the most important stage in the life cycle of the penetration testing. We want to get the target system's name, whether it is in the active state or passive state, and we want to get all the information. And like that only we want to get all the IPs before say that, like only. So we want to get the informations from the client side also. Enumeration steps, these tools, we using these tools we get into the privileges access, and we use these systems on the target systems. And vulnerability assessment, in this phase only these tools and methodologies will work. By this only the vulnerability will be identified in the targeted system. We use the various tools like Nmap, and by commonly I'm saying that Nmap and Metasploit. In this topic we use these tools to identify the vulnerability assessment. And gaining the access, after get into the systems, after get into the possibilities and advantages of the vulnerability, they will gain the access from the vulnerable, and they will target the system, and they exploit the data, and they will exploit the vulnerability, escalating the privileges. By taking this as an advantage, seems like they will enter into a super admin. They have all the access. They will be the root access. They have all the things. Even what the admin also, even they can get the access of the MD itself, MD, CEO. What are the access of having for the CEO? Even the white hat hacker also get into the advantages of the vulnerability. They get the full access of the data, and they may get the what are the transactions done, what are the data are there, and what are the customer details are there. They may get all the details. If it is in the hands of a black hat hacker, there will be a severe damages for the, there will be a name, maybe get into that. So the organization must reforms the these one. So maintaining the access, in the target system they remain active. They will get fully, they want to get what are the problems are there, to identify and rectifying the vulnerability. They will maintain the full access of the system, and of the targeted system, or maybe the server, whatever may be. They will maintain the full access of the systems, and covering the tracks. This is a very important thing one. By the penetration testing, the registry, the audit logs, and what are the tracks they follows, what are the footprints they follows, they will be tried to cover it, and they will try to they will put it in a report, how the tracks was done, how they enter into the vulnerable, how they identify the vulnerability, and how they get the privileges of the vulnerability, and what are the access they can get. These will be covered in the covering tracks topics. So they will follow as a footprint. It's like a route map for that penetration testing. This will be very useful for that. because if it is a company is facing another security audit, they will get the covering tracks only. By seeing the covering tracks, the new another penetration testing will be done, because they will see so what are the previous penetration tester had done, and what are the tracks he followed, and what are the tools he done, and what are the stages, and what are the audit was done by the previous penetration tester. These will be seen by the new penetration tester. If they needed another thing, another confirmation, they go for another penetration tester. So these penetration testers will follow the covering tracks. This is very important stage one. And now we're going to see about the tool is called Nmap. It is called as a network mapper. It is a very important tool. It is called as a Swiss Army knife in the network security. It is a network based security, networks based security scanners. Using this Nmap, we can identify the IP address of the targeted system, and we can also get the port numbers, and also what are the services it have, and what are the servers it have, and what are the versions of that used in that organization. These can be done through the Nmap scan. This Nmap scan is really useful. The real-time information of the network can be done, and detail of the IP address, whether it is in active or in the hide state, or number of ports open, what are the ports are open there, and what is the OS is there, and what's the host is there, whether it is a live host or whatever may be. These can be done over. This is a network mapper. So this network mapper will identify and explore what are the network securities and what are the networking they are followed in the organization or a target system. What these will be identified through the nmap. And here some of the comments. This is a common function. We will ping the ping scan, port scan, host scan, and OS scan, and scan the top ports. These will be the common basic we want to do. This will be the followed by the basic beginners. They will do these scans only. They will ping the IP, and they will identify they will identify the ports. What are the ports are open? Through the ports, which port is open, they will identify it, and whether by using the ports we can enter into the system or whatever may be, they will seems like a vulnerability. Through this we nmap only we can identify. Only vulnerability assessment will be done through nmap only. We can't do penetration testing. We can do only va only. So by va way, we identify that the port is open. Whether the port is open means whether it is seems like vulnerable, or they will, after identifying the ports open, they will like, try to exploit the port which was open in the system or targeted system. And the host scan, which host is doing, and what are the hosts are there, that will be scanned through this system. And os scan, what are the os are there, and what are the how the networks of the organization is behaving, and what are they following, and what are the follow-ups are done in the organization. These can be done through the nmap scans only. These are the common functions which will be done uh, in the nmap. And here it is, we are going to see some common commands. Here it is a nmap command. Here we use command o. It's a, here it is the targeted ip, and here the o is for os enumeration. We want to identify what is the os is here, and here it is running, and it's showing that linux os is used here, and the os detail is, well, linux 3.2 to 4.1 version is there using. And this shows what is the os version, and what are the these commands to identify what the OS they are using, what type of the network is happening there. This can be identified. And then this command is used to scan all the ports. This is the target IP. Here, this is the target IP. In the target IP, they identify the what are the ports are open. If the ports open means they will identify whether it is seems like vulnerable or not. So this will be done using the command nmap, the targeted IP, and P, small letter P. This will be that this command will scan all the ports, and it shows to the, and this is the result. If it scans the top ports of that, here we give that nmap scan the targeted IP, it's targeted, and here we are using the top ports 50. Here using, we want to, I didn't use any other ports. If I give it P, it will show all the ports. Which are the ports are open, it will show all the ports here. But here I used only a 50 ports. I needed just 50 ports, which I needed top 50 ports. Here it shows that What are the ports are open? FTP, the service which is open, and the domain is open, and through this only the port number 21 is open. If they sees in the vulnerability whether this 21 port is open, so whether it seems like a vulnerable, they will identify, and then how to exploit that, they use the Metasploit to to assess the penetration testing will be done by the Metasploit tool. Here these are the ports open. SSH port is open, domain port is open. What are the ports are open? By this port, MySQL ports is all open. So this will be identified by using these commands only. And what does Nmap do? It is a core. Nmap uses the IP package to give the detail of real-time information on all networks, as well as the devices like servers, routers, switches, and mobile devices also connected to them. What is the primary uses? These are the primary uses like scanning every active IP address and perform the entire network scanning, identify the server vulnerabilities, develop the visual mappings, and automated the system's vulnerability scan. This can be done. And before using the Nmap, we want to know how the system, how the network is running, the transmission control protocol, how it is done. The client, they will send synchronized data to the server. Through the server, we get synchronized acknowledgement to the client. The client will send acknowledgement to the server. This is the three-way handshake. Before doing the Nmap, we want to identify how the network is done, what are the transmission control, how the three-way handshake is done. We want to identify and we want to know how the network of the targeted system or targeted organization is going on. And here some of the commands, like I show that ping commands and also port scan commands also. And these commands is for the top 50 vulnerability, sorry, for top 50 ports. And this command nmap sp and the targeted IP. Here this is for the port scan, and this will shows how the host scan also. And these are the cheat sheets. There are a lot of cheat sheets in the nmap. By using the cheat sheets, we can identify what we want by it. Here the SL is, for example, to list out without scan, list the IP without scanning. For disable the port scan, we use SN command. SV command is to try to identify the version of the service running on the ports. And A is to enable the OS detection and version detection, script scanning, and also the terror. And here the nmap F and the targeted IP is used for scan the fragment packets. And here lot of nmaps cheat sheets. These are some of the example I had pasted here. And here the SA tool is to track the TCP acknowledgement. Here we see that TCP acknowledgement scan. Before the three-way handshake, we can identify what the acknowledgement scan has done. And here UDP port scan also done. And also here we see SA is a TCP acknowledgement port scan. What's the port? Which port the acknowledgement is scanned done? Through the which port the acknowledgement is sent to the server? Through the client, we seems that acknowledgement sent to the server. So which port the client sends to the server? So we can identify the port of the which port is open and which port is sending the acknowledgement to the server. And here we can identify, yes, synchronized packet, what where is the synchronized packet is open and how it is transmitting, and in which path it's going on. We can identify the synchronized port, and we can identify that these ports are useful for to send the synchronized packet to the server. So these are the some commands. This is the some of the examples I had seen, and there are more examples and more cheat sheets on the website, and it can be used for also to identify the vulnerability in the targeted system. And here is the Metasploit. Metasploit is the great tool. It's a very big tool which was identified, which was introduced in 2003 by Mr. H.D. Mork. He identified in 2003. He introduced to this world. The Metasploit is a very portable tool. It is a large number of, it has a large number of framework, and it contains a lot of tools. Using these tools, it is an open source also, And using these tools we can identify and we can target it, we can get into the exploit, we can get into the vulnerability which was done through the Nmap. We can get into the vulnerability assessment through this Metasploit tool, which uh, one of the tool to use for penetration testing for PT. So in this we are seeing that it contains of a lot of libraries are there. These libraries are very helpful to identify what are the, through this libraries we can identify what are the methods and what are the steps we can do for to identify the, to exploit the vulnerabilities. What are the ports are open, we can like search in the libraries and we can get the data and we can exploit the which are the ports open, and we can get all the access of the data through the libraries. Libraries is contain lot of tools also. So exploit now. So exploit is a tool. In a Metasploit, it shows a exploit and auxiliaries and payloads and encoders. Totally 2099 exploits are there. Exploits means take advantages of the security flaw. Seems like we are getting the weakness, and we sees the weakness in the system, or we see the weakness in the organization. If we see the weakness, we want to exploit into, we want to penetrate into the weakness, and we want to get the privileges, and we want to get the access through this only. So exploit is a, I said that Metasploit is a great framework. It is a framework which has the frame. It will use the frame like totally one exploit has 2099 frameworks of exploit is here. So using this 2099 exploit, we can use any one to identify what we identify the vulnerability. We can get into that, and we can identify which vulnerability is used for these exploits, and we can identify this exploit is done for this vulnerability into the 2099 exploits only. Through that we can identify and we can use, we can get into the vulnerability which we had occurred in the VA. So this may be very useful to get into the vulnerability. And auxiliary is the scanning of the tool, scanning the, this is for scanning purpose. We can scan the vulnerabilities, what are the port scan makes, and what are the FTP, and what are the HTTP scans, or these can be done through these tools. And this also be ready to use, because there is a lot of library. These libraries contains these tools. So by these libraries we can readily use the auxiliary exploits and also payloads. These can be readily used, and we can identify the vulnerability, and we can get into the vulnerability. And payloads is to identify the malware or viruses, or what are the systems, how the attacks. And when the victim does not have the network connection, uh, the Metasploit is to build a communication between the systems and the victims. We can identify what are the vulnerabilities and what are the malware, and what are the bomb, you mean bombs also may be used, and also the viruses are, these can be identified through the payloads only. There are totally 592 payloads are there in Metasploit. And stages, it's a tiny step which is a communication. First, it is enabled us to load a great payloads with a more functionality to start a small payloads. And encoders, encoder is like encoder is a very important thing, because it skip the, or it is a bypass the antivirus. The antivirus will be used in every organization, or even a small system also we have the antiviruses. So we want to bypass the antivirus using the encoders only. There are 45 encoders in the Metasploit framework. By using these frameworks, 42 encoders, we can bypass the um, bypass the antiviruses, and we can get into the privilege, and we can get the access of that. We can bypass the advantage. And before that I want to conclude, I want to say that in Metasploit, in a very small manner, we want to gather information. Simply we want to gather the information, and we want to get into the information. What are the information we get, what are the vulnerability we get. Through the vulnerability we want to get to the Metasploit database. By the database we identify what is the What is the vulnerability? This vulnerability is fixing. This vulnerability will match for the database or the Metasploit. This framework can be used for that. Using that, after identifying that, we will get into the libraries called exploits and encoders and payloads, and these can be done. So Metasploit is a great topic. It's a very big framework. We can't here for the time purpose I'm short it. uh, After that, we can see how they exploit. At the second part, we can see how to do a Metasploit. Before Metasploit, we want to need 2 GB of processor and 4 GB RAM and 1 GB of disk need we needed. So before that, we want to make sure that our system is okay, or our system is needed for the Metasploit. So Metasploit can be used as a both tools. It is consistent. Metasploit is a graphical tool also, and it's also a coding tool also, and it is preferable for Linux, and also it is for Windows, and these can be done. And Metasploit is a great topic. Here I am short it out. Just give a small intro for the Metasploit, and it is a big topic. We can take it in 1 hour. So I here conclude, and thank you.